Lucy Mworia Network. This is Lucy Mworia. Again, thank you so much for the continued support. And if you have not subscribed yet, please do so that you do not miss all our incredible stories and changing the world. Today we're in the count of Marsabit, meeting with the only professor woman from the Rendile community. And let's hear from Professor Pastoralists Elizabeth. Welcome, Professor. Tell us about you. Who is you? Tell us who Professor is.
Professor Elizabeth is my name. I come from Rendile minority group, and they live in Marsabit County. But I'll speak on behalf of all the pastoralists in relation to the elderly and the aging group. Basically, I studied social work and social development, and this fits in very well in relation to the aging and the elderly group of people. So I grew up as a small girl in a village, Harding, because my family was moving from one place to another. And this particular group of people, the Rendiles, are nomads. They migrate from one place to another and look for pasture and water for their livestock. We have what we call semi-permanent housing, and because we don't have permanent structures because of our nature or our way of life. So basically, we have both the old, the young, and women and girls in our society. Most of the community members are illiterate. Actually, about 94% are very illiterate. About 6% of the population is learned. And we are endemic to Marsabit County. We are Kenyans, though. We are not found anywhere in the world apart from Marsabit County.
Wow.
Yeah, so basically, and I've taught Catholic University. I've also been a politician. I've contested twice for the seat of the women rep, another one for the seat of MP. All this I'm doing because I wanted to be the voice of the minority group of people. But my votes were less than the number that was required. That's why I was not able to make in both instances. So basically that is me. I'm a mother of 3 and married to a Rendile man.
Thank you, Dr. And thank you also for giving us this opportunity to interview you. And the really interview was about the care of the elderly in the pastoralist communities. Like you have stated, you are a total 100% pastoralist. Those move from one place to another. We would like to know, how does that affect the elderly? Or how was the care planned by your communities, the pastoralist communities?
Yeah, the pastoralist community are homogeneous. They live in communal way. And those days before urbanization, the elderly were playing a very important role of child care and chores, housekeeping. The young women will go fetch water from very far and leave the children to the old. And so there was this bond between everybody. But the emergence of modernization, where people have now shifted to urban centers or trading centers, that has disrupted that life completely. And you realize that the old are left alone. The kids are taken to school, and therefore the old have nothing to do. Because initially there was no school. So children were taken through socialization process by the old people. So they are very active at that time because they are the ones who are inculcating culture into the people. But after the introduction of urbanization, people migrate from rural to urban, you realize that the old are left alone. and now they have no businesses to do, and now they are getting so lonely. They are getting their loved ones have left, so they are left without a companion. That is the first thing. They have no companion. Number two, those who have left don't come home frequently, and so these people have no one to talk to in that case. Number three, in terms of migration from one place to another, the distances of migration are very far. I mean, when people look for pasture, they migrate for kilometers, thousands of kilometers. So the old are left at home. And that is the time they are left in a situation where they have no food to eat, they have no water to drink. There's no one who will take them for medical care. And so you realize that they are seriously isolated and their rights abused because no one is taking care of them. So the shift between rural traditional way of life to the urban life has really created an apathy among the old within the pastoral communities. And that is where we need intervention in relation to now what happens. Because in the urban communities, we have home for the old. We have people taking care of their old, even in the urban. Most likely they are. But now that the rural are in the rural and the nomads are moving out from one place to another, the old cannot move. What will happen to them? So that is, and looking around, there's no study done to be able to show seriously interventions that are needed to be able to take care of the old that are left behind.
So, Dr. Patoroni, are you trying to say even before urbanization came, because the movement of pastoralists from one area to another looking for pasture was still there, are you saying still, you say like the elderly were being left behind? How are they being left behind? Who took care of them when they are left behind? What exactly happens?
So again, it has a lot of aspect of climate change. Before, the droughts were not so elongated, so even if they are left alone, at least they are coming back for them. Or if they are not coming back for them, there are people who are left behind, particularly women. Some women are left, strong women are left behind to take care of the old. But because of the elongated droughts, people now move away for a longer period than before. So everybody moves.
And longer distances.
And so people move, those strong people move with the livestock for years without coming back. So then the situation with the old are now not quite, the protection of the old are not quite defined now. They are left on their own. They are just at the mercy of any other person who will come on. If there's no mercy, there's no help, then they just die. So unnoticed and reported.
So actually you mentioned a point about the drought, and it has been persistent in those areas in the northern part of Kenya, and especially Marsabit, there has been really drought. So what has really been happening to the elderly? You just said they were left and people go and they die. I want to hear, like, these long spells of drought, what exactly happens? Is there anything special planned for them?
Nothing. There's no special plan from the government. There's no special plan from the general community, and therefore they are left to fend for themselves.
If they die, they die.
Yeah, if they die, die. And
if they survive, they survive.
Yeah, because again, reporting to who? There are no media houses there. I mean, reporting to who? There are no radio station. No newspaper can reach them out. So, I mean, it's not documented how many died. But then what happens? There are no relatives around to fend for them. There is no government to intervene for them. So at the end of the day, there are people whose concerns are not brought to the light. The number of people who died, I'm sure, if it has been documented, the highest among those who died are the old.
Really?
If they had to be reported,
yes.
I am not very sure there was any documentation done. But if there is any documentation to that aspect, I can attain to you, because when I was moving around, one particular lady during my campaigns. I was in one meeting, and then a certain lady came and called me, said, oh, there's an old woman there who is sick. And then I asked what happened to her. Then she said she didn't have children, and she's staying with relatives. And so she's getting sick, and her condition is getting serious. I was just campaigning. So I went to see her, and I handed her some 2,000 Kenya shillings. I said, please take her with a motorbike to the hospital.
Otherwise, she would have just stayed and died.
Wait, after 2 days, after I moved from that point, it was reported that that old woman died. Just immediately after 2 days. So that is one case that I have witnessed of an elderly woman, a woman without a child, and without care, medical care, without food, passed on, just like that.
Because actually, like around our African culture, most of it is like you are taken care of by the children.
Yes.
What of those who don't have?
Yes.
So that's even more serious.
That is more serious. So apart from just the drought, even poverty is another thing.
Oh, viewers, as we continue, you may hear a lot of noise with a restaurant, but you know, for us, taking care of the elderly, it is anywhere, everywhere, and with anybody. Wherever we get an opportunity of asking questions about the well-being of our elderly, even if it's on the street, we do it. So any noise, that should not disrupt you. Yes, continue. So we are talking about the drought in Marsabit. And actually, the issue you just mentioned was before the elections, during campaigns. After the elections, we've had this serious drought in Marsabit, and we understand that we hear and we've heard, even you know, the food, we saw trucks being sent to Isiolo, to Marsabit, and all the areas that are drought. Is that correct? Now my question is, you are saying that those people were even suffering more, they are the elderly. They are left behind when the families are moving. Was there any structured method of making sure that those elderly really got that food? Was there anything like that, like the elderly were given priority during the distribution of those foods?
Lucy, I think the way the food has been was distributed was not well planned in the first place, and those pastoralists in the far end flank were not even reached by the food, let alone even availability of food. The food did not reach some people. But those who have been reached by food is issued on basis of generalization of the needy people.
So there's nothing special for the elderly?
Nothing special for the elderly. I was expecting, or we were expecting that the elderly will be given first priority. And be given the first to be given food, and even the other list, the orphans and the others, but nothing of that kind. It was just a generalization, and whether the food reached the elderly or the needy, it's something else. So to me, I think it was not a kind of a well-planned way of issuing food, and also it was not targeting the most vulnerable members,
you
like
know,
the elderly.
It is not like it's the first time, so we are not speaking about a specific time like just the last 3 months ago. It has been a long thing, a continued thing about drought, and maybe it will come back. And now, do you think there is a need to have a structure and something that can take care of these the elderly who are left behind? Do you think the elderly should be given a priority?
Definitely, because the Constitution of Kenya, chapter 57, is very clear about the provision of the law in terms of the elderly and the aging. It says they should be given an opportunity to be respected and to be heard. They should also be given an opportunity to participate in a development intervention. They should also be given an opportunity to be able to speak out their concerns. And whenever there is an intervention, they should be given an opportunity to say how that intervention should be given to them, like food relief, like social protection fund. There's what we call cash transfer to the elderly. And therefore, all that, if there is an assessment that is supposed to be done, it will show us whether it is effective or not effective. But from the face value, to me, there is need to now translate law into tangible actions. We have laws, we have national policies, we have every documentation, but I think that needs to now move from just documentation to serious action that will change, will actually be geared toward improving the life of the aged and the elderly in the society. Now, how that is supposed to be done is, first of all, is to map out where these elderly people are. I know they're everywhere, but we must know in this particular center or in this particular pastoral area, we have this number of the elderly. And then we sit down and say, if such kind of donation comes, food relief, we say we must give them not only food, but quality food or nutritious food that is
my next question was that of nutrition value.
Yes.
I'm sure having come from that area where regularly food donations is given, I'm sure you have come across it.
Yes.
How nutritious is it? Most of these elderly, they are suffering from diseases like diabetes, the diseases that really need like special foods. Is there anything special when those donations are coming? May they be coming from outside or from our own government or from the county government? Is there anything special about, like you'd say, the issue of elderly is just like the issue of children? It's the same. Nutrition value. You come, these are elderly who are not energy, they have diabetes, they have pressure, and you just give them just a general unga or mahindi. How can that help?
That is the worst part, Lucy. When you get old, from 60 and above, there are related health issues that come with.
So many of them.
Yeah, and particularly with a pastoral community that have no hospitals or quality healthcare services. Number two, the kind of food the elderly take up there, like young children, are milk and meat in that case. That is what we call nutritious food. In modern society, it's a variety of foods that needs to be. So I will expect a concerned society, a concerned government, a concerned donor to come up with a food hurdle that has all the ingredients that we call nutritional values. And so to me, maize, because that's what they donate, beans is another thing that they donate. Rice is another thing they donate. In fact, rice is not even there. And so it is zero nutritional value. Zero. Yeah, when you say beans, it is protein, fine. When you say maize, it's also carbohydrate because it has some carbohydrate in it. But remember, these elderly people have no even teeth. They have lost their eating capacities. So I will expect something nice, something smooth that will be digestible to them. It is zero. So they survive by the grace of God.
So viewers, now you hear the problems we've been talking, the issues about the elderly, but now it's even worse in the pastoralist community where they don't have like a station place they call home. They keep on moving from one place to another. And who is the victim here? Who is vulnerable here is the elderly person. The elderly people, they are left behind when the strong people move for green pastures. This is very serious. We come now, like during the hard drought, there is a distribution of these foods, like you hear there's foods has been sent there, the government has sent food there, and many other people have donated. But how is the food? What's the nutritional value? How is it helping these people who are already having diseases, who already are sick, who need a special kind of foods? So the problem is right there. So please, as we donate these foods also, we remember these people need some nutritional values. They also need to prioritize our elderly. This goes to the administration and the county administration and the county governors. They need to have a special way of taking care of the elderly. They should be a priority during the distribution. There could be even a day for the elderly so that wherever they are, because I don't think there is one specific place in Marsabit or other areas where you have the elderly put together. So wherever you are, we should come up with a law that is saying, or a policy that elderly should be considered first. Ms. Pantoren, there's another question. We've heard for the longest time, I think Kenya is sick and tired of hearing the conflicts in Marsabit County. These conflicts, clashes, intertribal clashes, right? What do you think is the effect of these conflicts and clashes, the tribal clashes, on the elderly people?
It has an immense effect on the elderly. Remember the strong, there is a Darwin theory says the stronger survive, the weaker die. So
the weaker in this case?
The weaker are the old, the young, the small children,
people living with
disability, yeah, the sick are the ones that die in most of the cases. The kind of conflict in Marsabit is a kind that people are ambushed in the village, the satellite villages, the mobile villages. So when the strong ones run out of villages, the houses, who are left in the houses? The old and the elderly. So they are the ones who are the first line victims. I remember this year, February, a village was attacked. A Rendile village was attacked. And the first person who was shot was an old man of about 65. Because he was not able to get out of the house, and he was the first to get killed. So that's just an example of one case of an elderly person. And I'm sure many of them have gone through the same. And those who are killed are those who cannot be able to defend for themselves, and those ones are the elderly, the old. So, and therefore, yes, this conflict, every time a conflict occurs, the person who gets killed first is the elderly. So last week but one, an old man visiting a relative in Marsabit, old man of about 70-year-old, was just in Marsabit town, was shot for no apparent reason.
Wow.
So, because the first target is the old.
Because the rest can run.
The rest can run or defend themselves. So you realize that actually the first victims are the old. In every situation, be it drought, be it conflict, be it anything, poverty, the old are the ones that suffer. Yeah, so it's actually high likely that it's not reported, but common sense tell you that the old are the ones that suffer.
So viewers, like I've said, it is clearly showing that in those areas, the pastoralist communities, the effect of conflict and drought is more on the elderly people, because they cannot run, they cannot revenge for themselves. So it is serious, and it is something that needs attention. Unless, Pantoren, do you think those pastoralists, they have any regard for the elderly then? Or if not, why not? If yes, how?
Yes, if they stick to the old traditions of the elderly being given the chance of doing socialization for the young ones that are growing up, yes, it is possible. The indigenous traditional way of life can take care of the old, but the shift to the modern.
But I'm asking, because now you say when they run away during conflict or during hunger or this, it's like the elderly are left behind just to suffer.
Yeah.
Do you think the pastoralist communities have disregard for the elderly, or do you think could be the problem? What do you think?
The problem is not disregard, the problem is the situation at that time. A conflict is not planned for, it happens, and the person is killed. And the target is, the most obvious target is the old. So the thing is to stop the conflict. Number two is create a home for the old, most probably, where the old can be kept where there is security and they can be taken care of at that point. And number three is move the pastoralist, stop this the idea of being pastoralist, moving from one point to another, have settlements while the herders move around, so that the settlements have people who can take care of the old.
Why don't we have those settlements in Marsabit? You are a leader in Marsabit. You are a professor who has studied development studies. The first professor woman from Rendile community. I know Rendile is not Marsabit, but it is part of the pastoralists living in Marsabit. but you are a leader there. What you do, talk to your leaders, talk to your county. You are talking about starting homes. You know, we cannot start homes in Nairobi, in Kiambu, in Meru County, in Nyeri to bring the Marsabit people. What you do want to be done as a leader in that county? Fourth, in regards to the age who are being left behind when things happen.
Yes, help can come in different forms and by different individuals. From the family level, I will urge the family members to make sure that their old are taken care of.
I'm asking, during situation like this, what would you suggest? Like you send homes, yeah? You are starting from the family level.
Yeah, family level, I think then situation where the old are the target in terms of conflict, then they can be able to move away from the conflict hotspots and create some homes away from the hotspot areas. And the county government, the main cause of, excuse me, we are doing an interview here, excuse. Yeah, sorry. Sorry, it is frustrating, right? Yeah, so that is at the family level. At the leadership level, I think the main cause of this conflict is political. It is territorial, and it is about political dominance. So I just ask my political colleagues to stop these incitements and to ensure that peace prevails in the county. So much that be it young or old or political, because all of us are aging. It is our responsibility as leaders to be the first line peacekeepers, so that we actually ensure there is peace and tranquility within the area. And that is the only way we can then be able to take care of the old and the others. And if possible within the county, because we have a social development office, because we have social development department and a whole ministry in relation to minister in relation to the social development, we can create what we call homes in different wards, where the elderly can be taken in and be taken care of during the drought season, at the same time during the conflict season, because there are seasons that are known for conflict, so much that it is then decentralized and localized within the ward level. Because if we say we will leave it to the family, what will the family do when they migrate? They have no means of transport to carry the elderly, so we have to create some social homes. It's not necessarily the urban homes that we see, but homes that the elderly can mingle, socialize, interact, and are protected at that point. Even when these food donations come, it can be targeted to that particular settlement of the old.
Now in this case, we are talking about from when you are moving away from with your family and leaving the elderly, instead of leaving them where you were, you take them to those places.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
And also I heard you mention about going to the zones where the conflicts are not. Are there some areas where there is no conflict?
Right, there are. When actually the conflict spots are areas where they are neighboring each other. For example, Arendile community is neighboring a Borana community. That is a hotspot. But the interior part of the Arendile or the Borana side or the Gabra side, there are no conflicts. So then they can be able to take to their relatives or friends or guardians instead of leaving them where they are, so much that they become vulnerable to the conflicts.
Okay, now that is your county. Can you talk to our national government?
There's a social justice department, and there's also gender affairs department that are mainly responsible for the vulnerable groups, including the aged and the elderly. The cash transfer is based on technology. If you don't have a phone, you may not be able to access to the cash transfer. So how many elderly people don't have a phone, cannot even afford to have a phone? Not even affordability alone, they don't even know how to operate that phone. And therefore, kindly let us look for a way of ensuring that this cash transfer reach the right beneficiaries, particularly the old. The other thing is, when you do food donations, are you a state agency or a non-state agency, kindly ensure that the food you donate has some element of nutritional value that will help the elderly in relation to then be able to take care of them during the extreme drought situations. Now, in terms of when they do the national policy reviews, because they do national policy reviews, kindly get the views of the elderly. It is not that we don't need to take them as if they don't reason or they don't think anymore. They have ideas, and they also want to be involved in matters that are relating to them, and therefore they have ideas. Kindly pick information, and some of these elderly are also learned. They are professionals. Most of the retirees, where do they go? They become elderly and go to the village. And those who are not learned, they can speak out their issues. So they also need to be brought on board. Organization like the Kenya Pro Aging organization, pioneered by Lucy Mworia. Really, I want to appreciate you, Lucy.
Thank you.
It is one of the rare organizations, its kind actually. We've not had it covering the whole country. The others that we've been relating with are just localized, either Kiambu, some other areas, but this is a national organization. Thank you very much for coming up with this idea.
Thank you.
And because I believe you have a passion for the elderly, and some of us, we want to support you and appreciate your kind of work you do. But again, these organizations must be recognized and be on the table when the discussions around the elderly and the aged are discussed by either government, UN systems, any other organization that is advocating for the rights of the vulnerable groups which the elderly are part of. This organization must be given a hearing or be put on a table to be able to bring about or bring to you what the real issues are in relation to the aging. And so I appeal to no one should be left behind in relation to when we are discussing the issues of aging. And the age are now big in numbers. I think there are about 500,000 in Kenya.
Yeah. Wow.
About 1 million?
It is 2.9% of the population.
I haven't been able to do that research, but I think they're about 3 million.
2.9% of the national population.
Oh, it is about 2.9%, and that I could not be able to do the summation in total. It's a huge number. It's a huge population that needs to be taken care of. So my asking is that we incorporate them in the decision-making processes. They need to be heard, and the organizations that are advocating and doing outreach, like the one that is we are engaging in today, also needs to be brought on board. Thank you very much. And thank you, Lucy, for that.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Pastoralists, for highlighting the issues affecting the elderly in the pastoralist community, of which I agree. I also come partly from it, and I know what it is when it comes to things like the cash transfers using phones, and most of them, like you said, 80% do not even know how to read and write. So who are we expecting them when we hand over the cash on the phone, and which phone? Why are they even charging the phone anyway? So they will still remain victims, and maybe some people just pick their money and go. And we need a lot of seriousness in areas like those, like Isiolo and other interiors where the pastoralists are Marsabit, Turkana. We need to look for a formula that this money is to reach the intended persons, because when it comes to funds, she's telling us it is a challenge, and I also agree it is. Let us look for a method. Also, the foods that when during food distribution, it should be distributed giving priority to the elderly who are usually left behind during these times. With those, Ms. Pastoralists, I say thank you very much for giving us an opportunity to talk about our elderly that I'm very passionate about, and I know you are very passionate about. And today, now, let's more pastoralists come out and we discuss this. This is not just a story. Aging is for everyone. Aging starts from the day you were born. Today you are 30, tomorrow you'll be that one, and it continues. How far are you from 40 years to 50? Very close. How far is 50 to 60? Very close. How far is 60 to 70? Very close. So let's take this age issue and let our people age aggressively and with respect, like the Constitution already highlights. Thank you very much, and may God bless you.
Be blessed. Thank you.
Viewers, keep on subscribing, show up, and we say thank you so much. You are moving like bushfire. Let us continue changing lives together. Thank you.